Terrorists arrested in Crimea. The Russian constitution makes Crimea forever Russian, and Ukraine's foreign ministry finally acknowledges that residents of Crimea are lost to Ukraine. Welcome to Stop Fake, the place where we break down fakes about Ukraine and a little more. So let's get to it. In Russian-occupied Crimea, security officials continue pursuing policies of repression and severe human rights violations against the Crimean population. Russian media called the mass searches and arrests of Crimean Tatars on July the 7th, quote-unquote, a fight against terrorism, and Russia's security service, the FSB, announced they had detained members of the Hizb ut-Tahrir organization who were allegedly, quote-unquote, spreading terrorist ideology among Crimean residents and recruiting Crimean Muslims into their ranks. However, the detained Crimeans are not Caliphate terrorists, as Russian media claims, but simply Crimean Tatars who disagree with the Russian annexation of the peninsula. Under the guise of terrorism and extremism, Russian security forces are rounding up those who are pro-Ukrainian and disagree with the Kremlin's annexation of Crimea. Following a previously and often used pattern, Crimean Tatar homes are searched, Tatars are being arrested, and charges of belonging to Hizb ut-Tahrir are fabricated against them. The detentions on July the 7th follow this pattern, which has been used several times in the past in Crimea. 6 of the detained men will remain in pretrial detention until September. 1 was placed under house arrest because of vision impairment. Ukraine's international partners condemned the arrests in Crimea, and Ukraine's foreign ministry protested vehemently against these Russian moves and called on the occupying forces to respect human rights, while the displaced Crimean police have launched criminal proceedings into the matter. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine issued a statement saying Russia has no right to prosecute and detain Ukrainians on Ukrainian soil, and the U.S. OSCE mission issued a similar statement. The European Union called the searches and arrests politically motivated and in violation of international law. The EU emphasized that the international community expects Russia to stop pressuring Crimean Tatars. The human rights organization Crimea SOS reports that since the occupation, the largest number of criminal cases brought against Crimean Tatars took place in 2019. Russia illegally detained some 30 Crimean Tatars on trumped-up charges of links to Hizb ut-Tahrir. In just 1 year, hundreds of illegal searches, detentions, and arrests for political reasons have been recorded. 70% of all arrested and imprisoned on the occupied peninsula are Crimean Tatars. In total, from 2014 through 2018, Crimea SOS recorded at least 144 cases of politically motivated criminal prosecution of Crimeans. At least 66 persons were in places of detention. At least 15 were abducted by security forces and have not been found. At least 20 people were killed. At least 290 persons were tortured. At least 349 were victims of politically motivated administrative prosecution. Finally, Crimea SOS has recorded at least 372 cases of illegal detentions as well as 340 politically motivated searches. The week-long vote on constitutional changes in Russia that took place from June the 25th through July the 1st created quite a stir in both Russian and Crimean media. The fact that the vote was largely symbolic, as the Russian parliament had already passed the changes, didn't seem to bother anyone. In addition to amendments that allow Vladimir Putin to run for further presidential terms and potentially remain in power until 2036, other constitutional changes include, quote-unquote, protecting the integrity of Russia. It was this item that gave rise to scores of fakes on the part of Russian officials who claimed that this change will forever consolidate the Russian status of Crimea, the peninsula Russia seized from Ukraine and annexed in 2014, and make the return of Crimea to Ukraine impossible. To buttress this argument, the turnout in Crimea had to be high, and according to Russian media, it was high, of course, thereby confirming the not internationally recognized or accepted 2014 Crimean referendum that Crimea wanted to be part of Russia. Remember, this so-called referendum was organized while the Russian military had occupied administrative buildings, including the Crimean parliament and Ukrainian naval and military bases. Neither the 2014 fake Crimean referendum or the Crimean poll on constitutional changes are recognized by the Western world. Ukraine's foreign ministry emphasizes that the result of this Russian vote in Crimea is legally null and void and has no legal standing in the world and is not recognized by Ukraine or the international community. The EU also condemned conducting the poll on constitutional changes in annexed and occupied Crimea, pointing out that holding the vote on occupied Ukrainian territory is a violation of international law. This position is shared by the United Kingdom and the United States. The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv tweeted, quote, We are very concerned that Russia is using Crimea to conduct unauthorized pulls, again violating Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We firmly repeat that Crimea is Ukraine. The fact that the international community does not recognize any Russian voting in annexed and occupied Crimea nullifies the Kremlin's efforts to legalize the annexation. Furthermore, Russia's constitution has nothing to do with Ukrainian territories. According to Ukrainian laws and international legal norms, Crimea is Ukrainian territory, and no amount of Russian constitutional amendments can change that. Russian publications Politnavigator and iMag.1 disseminated stories last month claiming the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry admitted that the inhabitants of Crimea, the Ukrainian peninsula that Russia occupied and annexed in 2014, quote-unquote, were lost to Ukraine forever. The claim is allegedly based on an interview that Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba gave to the Crimean Realities television program. Now, Politnavigator claims that Kuleba believes the Crimean population is lost to Ukraine, and therefore it is necessary to fight not for the population of Crimea, but for the territory itself. Politnavigator claims Kuleba said, quote, Ukraine must fight not for the population of Crimea, but for the territory itself, because the people are living in the Russian information space and do not hear Ukrainian propaganda. We listened to the Crimean Realities interview in order to determine whether Minister Kuleba actually said what Russian propaganda claims he did. As is usually the case, the claims made by Russian media differs from reality, and Politnavigator's claims are downright false. First of all, throughout the entire interview, Dmytro Kuleba never once says that the foreign ministry considers Crimea, quote-unquote, lost to Ukraine. Furthermore, he never says that Ukraine does not intend to fight for the population of Ukraine. In the interview, Kuleba is asked how Kiev should fight for the hearts and minds of Crimeans who, quote, live in the Russian information space without any access to Ukrainian media. Kuleba responds that this is difficult to do since Ukraine does not have access to the Crimean residents' awareness, and therefore it is necessary to fight for the territory itself. Russian media often take quotes out of context, distorting them to fit a desired Kremlin narrative and mislead the reader to draw conclusions that were not expressed in an interview. That's it for this week. Remember, always be on the lookout for fakes. And don't forget that washing your hands and social distancing will protect you from the coronavirus. And critical thinking will protect you from Russian disinformation. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, forward it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.